Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to check out some new releases that are coming out this Friday, July 18th. There's a little over 200 albums coming out this week. I got 10 on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlist that I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's about 200 albums that are coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 10 of them on the show today. So if there's something you're looking forward to that I'll have on here, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should all be available online. I'll put links down below in the comment section for them. You can also always go over to the Vinyl Den store on Amazon. All the pre-orders are on there, new releases, there's deals on records, all sorts of cool stuff to check out. The first album is one I've been looking forward to, but I haven't heard a whole lot of people talking about this yet. This is a new album from Bush, I Beat Loneliness. It's their 10th studio album. There's going to be a black version. There's also a Coke Bottle Clear version, which is the indie exclusive. It's going to have 2 LPs. It's going to run about $38. So Bush is one of those bands that helped define that mid-90s post-grunge era. Both 16 Stone and Razor Blade Suitcase are easily two of my favorite albums from the 90s. The band has said that this is going to be more of a fusion like their older alternative rock sound, blending that with the newer sound that they've had on the last couple of albums. And really after the turn of the century, I don't think I listened to any of Bush's albums until it was probably within the last couple of years I started going back through them. And I'm actually surprised how good their last couple of albums are. Of course, the band is never going to be able to recapture what they did on those first couple of albums, but I think the band has evolved into a very good and I think very underrated rock band. I haven't pre-ordered a copy of it, but I probably will head to the record store and grab a copy of it on release day. Then you've also got the new album from Styx coming out. This is Circling From Above. It's their 18th studio album. It's actually their third album since 2017. It's going to run you about $30. And this is the band's first album since the departure of longtime bassist Ricky Phillips, which I think he was in the band for about 20 years. So the lead single, Build and Destroy, it was a little controversial when it was released because the entire video for the song is completely AI created. But the funny thing is, that's kind of the whole point behind it. If you listen to the song and understand the meaning of the song, it completely makes sense why they did the video that way. It's the only single they've released off the album so far, and I like what I hear. I've never been a big Styx fan, but this has a very strong, I think, 80s Styx sound to it. I probably won't grab a copy of it, but at least I'll stream it and check it out when it gets released this week. There's also the reissue of the Ozzy Osbourne See You on the Other Side box set coming out this week. So this initially came out back in 2019, and it was reissued earlier this year, and a lot of people missed out on it. There was a lot of pre-orders that got canceled. I was lucky enough to get the pre-order that I had in, but I know a few people that missed out on it. And then, so this is actually getting reissued just a couple of months later. This is the reissue of the second version. So this is on black vinyl. The only difference is between the reissue that came out earlier this year and this version is this is not numbered, it's not signed by Ozzy. But it's all the same 27 LPs, it's all on black vinyl. It's still pretty expensive. I think I've seen it I've seen it online between it's $550 all the way to like $675 on Amazon, which I think is a lot considering it's not numbered, so it's not really all that limited, and it's not signed by Ozzy. I figured it would be a little cheaper than the one that came out this year, but it looks like that's not the case, and they haven't said how many of this reissue they pressed. But it looks like it's already sold out on Ozzy's website. It's sold out on a couple other websites I've seen also. I think it is available still on Amazon. But when this box set first came out in 2019, I passed on it because I thought, stupid me, I thought that they would go on and reissue all those albums individually, but that's not the case. But earlier this year, within the last month or so, they finally reissued Scream. So hopefully we've gotten to the point where we're going to start seeing some of those long out-of-print reissues happen, including Speak of the Devil, because I'd love to see that one get reissued. You've also got Metal Church Reforged, the Remastered Collection 1999 to 2013. So this is a new 10 LP box set. It's limited to 1,000 copies. It's going to run you about $146. And what's included in this box set are 5 albums from probably one of the bigger members of the Seattle metal scene. I think 4 of the 5 have never been released on vinyl before. These are all newly remastered. They've got reimagined artwork for the albums, and they're all going to be available on colored vinyl. So the albums included in the box set are Masterpiece from 1999, The Weight of the World from 2004, A Light in the Dark from 2006, This Present Wasteland from 2008, and Generation Nothing from 2013. So basically it's the 6th through 10th album from Metal Church. So the only one's been available on vinyl before is Generation Nothing. So all the other ones, the first four in this box set, it's the first time they've ever been available. I know a few of those albums, Metal Church fans have been waiting a very long time to get pressed on vinyl. There's also a new album from Laura Jane Grace coming out this week. This is Adventure Club. It's her third solo studio album. It's going to be on pink vinyl. It's going to run about $25. So if you're unfamiliar with who Laura Jane Grace is, she was the lead singer of Against Me. This is the follow-up to her 2024 album, Hole in My Head, which I thought was a really good album. It was different than what she did with Against Me. It still had that kind of like punk-inspired roots to the album, but she incorporates, I think, a lot more folk into it. I don't think it was as good as what she did with Against Me, but it was still a really solid album. She's already released 4 singles off the new album, and I've listened to them a couple times, and I guess I just don't know how I feel about them. I don't know. It wouldn't be the first time that I didn't love the singles off an album, and then once the album comes out, it makes more sense as an album instead of just individual tracks. I don't know. I'll add it to my list to stream and check out this week. You also got the reissue of Fall Out Boys from Under the Cork Tree. Came out in 2005. It was their second studio album. 20th anniversary release is going to run you about $28. This is the reissue of the band's big breakthrough album. Sugar We're Going Down and Dance Dance were both, I think both of them hit the Hot 100 on the Billboard charts. The album would end up hitting number 9 on the Billboard 200 and sell a couple million copies here in the US. This is the album that really made Fall Out Boy a household name in the early part of the 2000s. For me, if they're going to do a 20th anniversary release, this album's been repressed multiple times over the last few years. If you're going to do an anniversary release, and make it different than those other ones, add some additional tracks on there, do some demos on there, even if you gotta throw in some live material, do something to kind of celebrate the 20th anniversary of that album, because without something like that, it just kind of feels like a cash grab to me. This week I've also got the next release from the Clutch Collector series coming out. So this week it's their self-titled album from 1995. It was their second studio album. So this is going to be on 2 LPs. It's got a D-side etching. It's really expensive, though. It's going to run you about $57 online. The last couple of times that they've released albums in this collector series, I think I've complained about the price of them both times, but they both sell really well, and I know Clutch fans really love these releases, and it's a little different. So these are all, they take the album artwork, and it's all reimagined. The music's all remastered also. The albums are all individually numbered. It comes with a insert in the album signed by the band, which I think is where some of the extra cost comes from. This is the album where Clutch started becoming a little more experimental with their sound. There's a little more funk in this album. They started incorporating some of these like heavier, darker tones in their music also. But even as big as some of their other albums were, I think this album is still their highest selling album here in the US. So you got that coming out this week. You've also got Charles Mingus, Tijuana Moods. So this came out back in 1962. It was actually recorded in 1957. It's going to run you about $20. So 1957 was a pretty busy year for Charles Mingus. I think he recorded 5 or 6 albums that year. And when this album was reissued in 1986, in the liner notes it said that they never got through like a single take on this album. The album, or the songs on this album, are all pieced together for multiple takes. And then when they released that reissue in 1986, and then there's another one in 2001, they released expanded editions of the album with additional takes on there. Even all those extended takes were all pieced together from other takes. And that's generally not how he would record his music. But, there's some good stuff on this album. I haven't listened to it in a really long time, though. And Charles Mingus is one of those jazz musicians that, I just never really gotten into his music. I think I've got 1 or 2 of his albums in my collection, but I definitely need to go back through more of his albums. Then the last 2 releases I got on my list this week are both part of the Blue Note Classic series, which I love this series. It's a really affordable way to get into jazz music. A lot of these albums that they do as part of this series are long out of print. If you want to grab an original copy of these albums, you're going to spend a lot of money for them. And Blue Note does a really good job with them. These are always mastered by Kevin Gray from the original analog tapes. They're pressed at optimal. I've got a bunch of these in my collection. I've never been disappointed by any of them. It's helped introduce me to jazz musicians that, I'd never heard of before, never listened to any of their music. I like a lot of the stuff that I've heard from the series. So the first one you got is Donald Byrd, Stepping In Tomorrow. Came out back in 1975. It's going to run you about $28. So by 1974, which is when this album was recorded, Donald has started blending more like funk and R&B into his sound. If you're listening to this album and you hear the track Think Twice and think to yourself, this sounds really familiar, it's because this song has been sampled a ton of times over the years. I know a Tribe Called Quest used it. I think it was Lisa also covered or sampled this track. I think altogether it's been like 45 or 50 times this song or that song had been sampled. And I don't think I've got any of Donald's albums in my record collection. I think they've done a couple of his releases on the Tone Poet series over the last couple of years. we'll see if I end up grabbing that one this week. I don't know. I spent a lot on records lately, so I'm trying to be a little more selective on what I pick up. So that's coming out. And then the last album I got on here is Eddie Henderson Heritage. Came out back in 1976. Same thing. It's part of the classic series. It's going to run you about $28. It's all mastered by Kevin Gray. It's pressed at Optimal. So Eddie spent the early part of the 70s with Herbie Hancock and his band before branching out on his own. And a lot of the music he would release in the middle part of the 70s would become, essential jazz fusion releases. And if you're somebody that likes jazz music and you're looking to kind of branch out into different areas of jazz, he's definitely a musician to check out. I don't think I'd ever listened to any of his albums as a band leader until earlier this year when the list of the Blue Note releases came out, and I started going through some of those albums. Jazz fusion is definitely a different style of jazz music, especially that jazz funk fusion. And, he's got some really good stuff on there, but I need to listen to him more. Well, that's okay for you today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what albums you're looking to grab this week. I'm definitely going to grab that Bush album. I'll stream the new Styx album. Like I said, I like what I heard from that single. I'll stream the new Laura Jane Grace album also. Maybe I'll grab that Donald Byrd. I don't know. We'll see what I end up grabbing this week. But let me know what you guys are looking forward to. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.